This is the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus. I've been using it as my main phone for a good amount of time, and I'm finally ready to give you my full review. Now, it didn't take me 2 months for me to determine that this is one excellent smartphone, but I like it a lot and it's going to be one of the best phones of 2020, no question. The first thing I want to talk about is its design. It looks like Samsung found some sort of sweet spot here. The phone's corners aren't as sharp as they are on last year's S10 Plus, but they're not as rounded as they are on 2018's S9 Plus. They're like right in the middle of that, and it makes for a nice, comfortable feel in the hand. Samsung also addressed the curves of the display. I think they heard the complaints about accidental input and whatnot and adjusted accordingly. It's a move that I know a lot of us wish some other manufacturers would make. Oh well. Over these past 2 months, especially with the release of the OnePlus 8 Pro, I appreciate this adjustment more and more. I love it. In addition to that, the phone is big. It's quite big. Obviously, with Plus in the name, you'd expect nothing less. Now, it's not as wide as the Note 10 Plus, but it is just as thick, just as heavy, and just as tall as the Note 10 Plus. And its screen is literally 1/10 of an inch shorter diagonally. So yeah, it is a big phone. Speaking of the screen, this, as expected, is one of the phone's best features. It's big, it's bright, it's crisp, it's colorful. You know how high-end Samsung displays are. They are phenomenal. This one especially, both on paper and with the eye test. The biggest thing to note? Oh, you know by now. It's the 120Hz refresh rate. This upgrade is probably the first thing I was looking forward to with this phone's release. I just love high refresh rates. Pair that with the pure quality of a Samsung AMOLED panel, 240Hz touch sensitivity, and a 90.5% screen-to-body ratio, you've got yourself the recipe for one of the best displays on a phone that you'll come across. It's both a joy to look at and a joy to use. I love this display. And as much as I'd like to be able to push it to the limit with both 120Hz and Quad HD, 1080p isn't bad at all, and it looks just fine here. Haven't had a problem with it at all these past 2 months, and the resolution quickly became an afterthought, and obviously it helps with battery life, which I'll get to a little bit later. If you want to add some grip and some scratch protection, or if you just want to switch up the look of your phone, check out channel sponsor Dbrand. They've got a ton of different skins with different textures that can help. They also help switch up the look of your phone too. I especially like this one that shows off what the inside of the phone looks like. Link below. So it's been quite a long time since I've used a phone with real standout performance issues, and the S20 Plus hasn't broken that streak. Performance with this phone has been superb over these past 2 months. It's fast, it's powerful. I haven't experienced anything negative worth mentioning when it comes to everyday use. Games, multitasking, bouncing in and out of applications, scrolling through stuff, the phone doesn't even come close to breaking a sweat. Does it get warm while gaming? Yeah, a little bit, but nothing to write home about. The phone's got the latest and greatest CPU, GPU, and it's got 12 gigs of RAM. Is that overkill? I guess you could say that, but I'd much rather have too much RAM than not have enough RAM. Plus, more RAM helps with the new ability to pin applications to the RAM so that they won't close when they're not in use. It's good for games that may take a long time to load back up or any application that you use a lot. It's pretty useful and I like the implementation of this. It's a cool quality of life thing. In addition to all of that, One UI 2 has been really good overall. It's not been perfect, but really good. The S20 was launched with One UI 2.1, so besides the pinning apps to RAM feature, Google Duo integration in the dialer, a Pro mode for video capture, finally, Bixby Home's rebranding to Samsung Daily, there is a small handful of other minor refinements. It's great to see how far Samsung's skin has come over the years. One UI is loaded, some would say to a fault, which is fair to say. But either way, I'm cool with it. One thing I'm not so cool with though is having to guess when it comes to software updates. For example, I got the May security patch towards the beginning of May, and I got the April patch at the very end of April. Samsung doesn't have the best track record when it comes to stuff like this, but it hasn't been a total deal breaker for me at least. Now, I quickly wanted to go over this in-display fingerprint scanner. From what I've heard and seen, there are a good amount of users out there who basically say that this scanner is slow and doesn't work half the time. Now, I've had a different experience because for me, the scanner has been just fine. It's not perfectly accurate, and I still do prefer the older rear-mounted scanners, but I haven't necessarily had a huge problem with its performance, and I've gotten used to it over this time. Maybe I've got some weird thumbs or something, I don't know, but it's been okay. Same goes for Face Unlock. Getting to the cameras, I gotta say, these upgrades, while not huge ones, have proven to be very good. Everyday shots come out clean, crisp, bright, and colorful with good dynamic range. Low light performance is good. Overall, very solid stuff for sure. And I'm sure you're all aware of all the different camera modes there are. Now, I may not give the cameras the first place medal, but once again, they're up there in the top 2, top 3, and you can still kind of make out the Samsungification of some of these shots, but you really can't go wrong overall. The cameras here are great. Now I know there were some battery concerns with the display being this large with that high refresh rate, but honestly, battery life has been just fine. In fact, it's been pretty darn good. Over the time that I've been using this phone, I haven't had to worry about drainage or anything like that. I get around 6 to 7 hours of screen on time. It's a good strong battery, and I don't get paranoid about having to plug it in. Now, when fully maxing things out like brightness, using Bluetooth, GPS, 5G, all that good stuff, well, we're looking at a pretty good smack to the battery performance, but again, it's nothing really worth worrying about. Using the phone like that, I could still pull in about 5 hours or so of screen on time. Okay, so as much as I've enjoyed using this phone, its price tag is such a tough pill to swallow. $1,200 is, yeah, that's a heavy one. It makes it kind of hard to recommend, especially since OnePlus recently brought the heat with their 8 Pro, which by the way is very comparable to the S20 Plus, and it starts at a full $300 less. Now, if you know Samsung flagship trends, you know that this phone will come down in price pretty much without fail. It's just a matter of time for when it actually will. In fact, I'm sure it already has in some places online, which also means these smaller S20 should also be on your radar if you're interested in this series of phones. Just a little food for thought. The S20 Plus has been one of my favorite phones that I've used so far this year. The design, the screen, the power and performance, the speakers, the cameras, and everything else, while not perfect, come together to make a winner in my book. All in all, I think it's currently, and will be moving forward, one of the best phones that you can buy, and I do recommend it. But I also recommend getting it when it's not $1,200. Anyway, what do you guys think of the S20 Plus 2 months later? Let's talk about it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I will talk to you guys later, and thank you so much for watching.